Writing with Steve. Welcome to Writing with Steve Skidmore. Hi, Steve Skidmore here. Hope you are all well. Now, we've been talking, haven't we, about imaginary worlds, and we've been talking about how we get into our imaginary worlds. Now, this time, we've got to decide what's going to happen in your world, the world that you've created. What is the story? And I'm going to give you a few tips about story writing today, because some people can make story writing very hard, and it is hard. I know it's hard. Because when a teacher says to you, write a story, 3 little words, but what they're really saying is this. They're saying, develop a plot and narrative that has a beginning, a middle and end, a rising tension to a climax that everybody's going to want to read. You've got to invent some characters, describe the characters you invented, and also put them in a location. And don't forget all about the technical stuff, the spelling, the punctuation, and the grammar. Write a story. So it is hard, but there are things we can do to simplify your story writing, help you out. Now, the first thing you need to do is to think about your story. Now, I know that planning can be a little bit boring. I know that. But if you plan your story out, it will save you time in the long run. Some authors, they say, well, don't plan. They just write their stories and see where their stories take them to. Now, that's fine. If you're a genius, or if you are a writer that's written a lot of stories, or if you're an adult that has got time to see where your stories go, you don't have that at school. You get told to write a story and you've got to get it in on time. Steve and I, we've been writing a story now for 13 years. Could you imagine that at school? The teacher, where's your story? Come back in 13 years' time. You're going to be in trouble. So we've got to think about our stories, planning them. Think long about your stories before you start writing them. When I'm writing a story, I ask myself some questions at the very beginning. And these are those 6 questions. Who is in the story? Where is the story set? When does the story take place? What's the main problem in the story? Why did the problem occur? How is the problem solved? Who, where, when, what, why, how? The 6 questions. So those are the 6 questions. Now, the main question that you have to ask yourself is, what is the problem? Because that's what your story is going to be based on. The problem that your character or characters have got to solve. And you want to bring that problem in right at the beginning of your story. Because by the end, you'll have the answer to the problem. We call that the resolution or the solution to the problem. And that's quite interesting as well, because you need to know what the solution is before you can write your story. How many of you have ever written a story you don't really know where the story's going and you put in, and then I woke up and it was all a dream? Oh, that is a terrible ending. Or people put the end. Or is it? Yes, it is the end, because it's the end of your story. So don't do that. You need to know what your problem is, and you need to know how it's solved. Because that is your story. The journey between the problem and how it's solved. Because a story is a little bit like a journey. You take your readers on a journey with you. You show them this happens, the character does that. This is a scary bit, this is a bit that's a bit frightening. This is a very tense bit. How will we get out of that? And that's what your story should be doing. You have a problem, and then by the end, the problem is solved. The solution, the resolution. And the bit between, that is the story. The journey of how the problem is solved. How your character solves that problem. Now, some books are very thick and have lots and lots of problems, but they do have a main problem. If you think about Harry Potter, 7 books, thousands of words, but the main problem is that Harry and Voldemort are going to have to do battle by the end. Good versus evil, the big fight. In between 7 books, there's lots and lots of stories, lots and lots of different things that happen, lots of different problems, but the main problem is always there. So we set up the situation, we set up the problem. We then develop that. That's the journey bit. And then we have the resolution or the solution to the problem. Set up, develop, resolution. You have a problem when you're writing your stories because you don't have time to write lots and lots of different problems. So here's a little tip. Choose one problem, and by the end of that story, it's solved. You're not going to write hundreds and hundreds of pages in a story for your teachers. You're not going to write it for the competition that we're going to set because you're going to have a word limit. So you don't have time for lots and lots of problems. Choose one problem, by the end, that's solved. That bit there, that's the bit that I'm interested in. So I hope those tips have been useful for you. Remember, you have a problem, and by the end, you've solved that problem. And the journey is the story. I'm looking forward to finding out what stories you're going to be telling me. There's a competition coming up very soon here on Off School. So keep looking out for that. Go back, have a little look at the videos that I made earlier to give you some tips about producing great work, and enjoy your writing. See you soon.